Mr. Vikri, coming to you now. Thank you so much for joining us on the broadcast once again. Mr. Vikri, of course, trade and tariffs, that's going to be one major point of discussion. We also know that the two sides are aiming to sign a defense framework, and India is aiming to increase its procurement of American-made security equipment. What are you expecting from the discussions?
Well, thanks very much for having me. It's always a pleasure to be on WION. I subscribe fully to World is One theme of the WION, so it's great. And I think it's of the utmost importance that these two great democracies continue to work together, one, to preserve democracy within their respective countries, but two, to build peace and prosperity throughout the world. I think tariffs is going to be a major point of the discussions. As you may know, this afternoon, President Trump has signed a directive on reciprocal tariffs. Nobody knows exactly what this means, because is it reciprocity just across the board with one rate for everything, or is it reciprocity with individual items? Also, there are a lot of bureaucratic questions as how you would administer this, with different countries having subscribed to different tariffs. The whole premise of most favored nation, the basis of the WTO, goes out the window. So there's a lot to be determined just as to what this means. What it means, though, in regard to the U.S.-India relationship is that Trump continues his policy of announcing something as a negotiating position. It seems to me that he's shown this with Canada and Mexico, where he announces something radical and then backs off it. In regard to the U.S.-India relationship, it's much too important to be derailed by a fight over tariffs at this point. India has already taken steps to be able to give Trump what he would like, and that is some things that he can hold up as victories, and whether it be Harley-Davidson motorcycles or walnuts or cashews, that's already been done. I rather imagine that there's going to be some continuation of what happened in Trump 1.0, and that is moving toward some sort of overall framework agreement. I think that that'll probably be announced this afternoon, but it won't really be an agreement at this point. It'll be an agreement to negotiate further. So that is a way around what has happened here, and it just seems to me that Prime Minister Modi is an excellent politician. He knows how to handle President Trump, and I think that that's going to be the outcome.
Right. Well, Mr. Vikri, let me first thank you for your kind words. It's always a pleasure to have you on the show with us as well. I also wanted to ask you about, of course, the illegal immigration issue that was the centerpiece of Donald Trump's whole election campaign as well. And he has cracked down on this issue in his first 4 weeks or so in the Oval Office. We know that 5.4 million Indian Americans, Indian origin people, make up the Indian diaspora in the United States. It's the third largest Asian ethnic group in the United States. That being said, a second batch of illegal Indian immigrants is being sent back to India. How do you think the two sides will be able to navigate this issue?
Well, you're very wise to bring up the whole immigration issue, because this has been the stock and trade of President Trump's election campaign and what he's done in the first few weeks. It's really an anti-foreigner approach which appeals to much of his base. In regard to India, the Indian American community and Indians in the United States, for various reasons, many of them very, very legitimate, have a lot at stake. What has happened so far is that India has wisely taken the initiative, saying, well, we're not against debarring illegal immigrants, but we want to have legal immigration, meaning not only green card, but H-1B visas and temporary visas preserved. For Trump, it's a difficult political issue because his MAGA base is split. You have, as you have indicated, the Silicon Valley supporters who are very much in favor of H-1B visas and being able to work with the tremendous supply of talent which is in India. On the other hand, you got the Steve Bannon group. They just don't like foreigners, period, and they want to be able to keep out anybody that they consider to be not like them. I rather imagine here again there's going to be some workaround solution because the relationship is much too important to be derailed by this. It certainly doesn't help when the Trump administration puts people in chains and puts them on military aircraft and parades them before the cameras. I think people in India ought to realize that that's being done for a purpose because it appeals to part of the MAGA base over here. But whether it does or not, inhumane and shouldn't be allowed.
Right.
But I think that this will be another area where you kind of kick the can down the road. India's taken some measures to blunt the effect of what Trump is trying to do.
All right. Well, Mr. Vikri, thank you so much for joining us on the broadcast with your insights on this. Always a pleasure to have you. Susan, thank you so much for joining us as well with the updates on this. We'll, of course, continue to track all developments closely on this front.
Thank you.
For latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.